Hey guys, it's Joe. So my topic today is going to be home defense using firearms. So a lot of people out there don't agree with having a firearm in the house, especially if you have small children and you're afraid they can get a hold of them and do something really bad with them. Unfortunately, statistics show that it happens. It happens a lot. It happens more than it should. But what they don't tell you is it usually happens because of the neglect from the gun owner. So there's many ways you can keep a gun safe in your home. And by the end of the speech today, I hope that you guys will agree with me that having a firearm in your home, as long as it's properly stored and people are properly trained, is a safe thing to do. So one of the things I'd like to go over is the locks. A lot of the times people buy firearms, and I believe 90% of the firearms that you buy come with a lock. The lock's going to look something like this. Just looks like a little, bolt lock. That's all. So what you do with this is you pop that open with the key. You have to rack the slide on your gun, rack it back, lock it in. Make sure you check that there's no bullet ready to dislodge. You remove the magazine from your firearm. Take that out. Throw your lock down, the magazine shaft. Lock that up. Check the lock. Remove the key. And when you do remove the key, make sure you keep the key somewhere safe. Don't leave it on the nightstand next to where you store your gun, or leave it on the table for all to see and all to know where it is. Especially if you have children in the house. The best thing you can do is have a gun safe. I know that gun safes are expensive. A lot of them are bulky, so it's hard to store. And, some people just don't want to spend the money or lose the space in their home for them. The alternative to that would be the gun lock. So now that's racked through, that's put through my slide, my rack slide. Goes down my magazine shaft. Now this gun is inoperable. You can't put a magazine back in. And even if you unrack the slide, the gun cannot fire. You can see here, this gun's inoperable. So even having this around, the only thing anyone can do with this is they can hit you with it or drop it on their toe. So there's a lot of things you can do to keep your house safe, the people in it safe, and still have a way to defend yourself if need be. Like I said, the first thing to do is gun safety is find out how to store your weapon. Store it in a safe, store it with a lock. The other thing to do is to keep your ammunition separate from your weapon. You don't want the ammunition with the weapon because God forbid you forget to close your safe one day and the weapon's sitting there and the ammunition sitting there. That's just a recipe for disaster. So what a lot of people do is they'll have two safes. They'll have a gun safe and they'll have an ammunition safe. That way there, everything's separate. You have to be able to make two big mistakes for them to come together. The other thing I would recommend is gun safety courses. I don't care how many times you've handled a firearm. I don't care what type of firearms you've handled. You can always learn something that you didn't know before. And as safe as possible is the way to go when it comes with firearms. Personally, I spent 8 years in the military. I've used these. This is actually a 9mm Smith & Wesson MP Shield, and it is the weapon that military police use, or used to use. I believe they use Sig Sauers now. So, gun courses are there for everybody. From someone who just wants to learn how to handle them on a gun range where they rent guns, someone who wants to know how to use the weapon that they have purchased, Men, women, children, they have them for everybody. And they have all kinds of levels as well. You know, you have your basic, your intermediate, and then your more advanced courses. Here in New Hampshire, there's actually a Sig Sauer Academy up in Epping, and they'll show you everything from home defense to tactical shooting, long range, short range, pistols, you got rifles, pretty much anything you think you can do with a gun, they'll show you how to do it. Of course, it's going to cost you some money, but well worth it, because knowing how to use a firearm and purchasing a firearm and owning one, those are two very different things. So I think a lot of misnomers about owning a firearm is a lot of people are gun fanatics. You know, you say you have a gun for home defense, and in people's minds they visualize this room full of firearms and rifles and automatic weapons. You got AR-15s. It's not always the case. I like guns. I love shooting guns. I own one gun. And 99.9% of the time, this gun is locked, as it is now, in a safe as well. My ammunition stored in a separate safe in a totally different room. These keys are then put into a fireproof safe where we keep our documents. And it'd be an act of God if somebody got a hold of my weapon. I would literally have to forget everything and leave it out for someone to get mine. I am trained on them. My wife is trained on them. Anybody that comes in my house, if they ask about it or want to see it, I ask them first if they have any training. If not, they don't see it. So, being that I've had, my fair share of weapons and that I've used a lot, I've been trained on a lot, I still went out and seeked out a course and took the course with my wife for home safety. Learning how to shoot a weapon in the military is totally different than learning how to store a weapon in your home. So I don't care if you were Ranger of the Year, you need to go out and learn about storing your weapons properly. So a lot of people, I think, that have that misnomer about having them creates more of a chance for someone to get shot by accident. There's a lot of people out there that will take their own lives when they have firearms, and they say that owning a firearm and being suicidal somehow goes hand in hand. I know many ways I can get a hold of firearms if I don't have one by any means. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions, but the one big thing that I strive to tell people is safety. Know-how. You got to have the knowledge. You have to want to be safe with your weapon. You want that to never be used for home defense. I never ever want to take this out and have to use this for any reason in my home. Other than now, to show you guys this tutorial, or my persuasion speech as it is. So, I hope that you guys take away from this that owning one and knowing how to use one are two different things. If you're going to get one, do as much research as possible as you can on the type of firearm that you want, what you're going to be using it for, and then seek out a course. You need to be trained by a professional as to how to use them and store them. And a really big thing is cleaning them. A lot of accidents happen when people clean their firearms. You don't realize this, but the residue in the guns can be explosive. So when you're cleaning firearms, it's not just the bullet that can hurt you, it's also the residue. Another reason why you need to seek out a professional to be trained on how to do that as well. And just on a personal tip, if you're going to get a cleaning system, don't cheap out. Get a good one. Get the best brushes you can to get in there and clean those chambers out. Clean out all the slides. So that's one thing not to cheap out on. So hopefully, in my conclusion here, hopefully you guys take away that it can be safe to own and operate a firearm in the home, without children, as long as everybody's responsible, trained, and all steps are taken to make sure everyone stays safe. Then it's safe. Think about the number of people that own them in home and accidents don't happen. Unfortunately, we only hear about the things that happen that end badly. And I think we can stop that by training. It's just that simple. Train your brain. Learn how to use them. Learn how to store them. Learn how to clean them. And everybody will be safe. Thank you, guys.